If this image were in a museum, no one would doubt its importance to our shared history. But history isn't just the artifacts in institutions. It's also the precious objects we hold in our hands and hearts, the ordinary family photos that people create every day.
This is Family Pictures.
Family Pictures.
Family Pictures USA Action.
I'm Thomas Allen Harris, filmmaker, photographer, and host of Family Pictures USA. We're traveling the country, inviting everyone to share their family photos, revealing a new history of our community, our country, and ourselves. Once you see America through family pictures, you'll never see this country the same way again. North Carolina, an historically rural state, is changing rapidly. They take pride in being down home with deep roots to family, community, and the land. But as North Carolina grows, those who are from here and those who've just come here are shaping new identities. How can values rooted in the soil of simpler times survive the transition to a future still being determined? Okay, everyone put on white gloves to protect your photos.
Okay. This is my father, and we believe this picture is from around 1911. This is my father here, Sam Powell. We grew up on a farm, Whitakers, North Carolina, and it was just a beautiful childhood, beautiful family. My father was very old when I was born, but luckily I do remember him. And one of my funniest memories is that he would let me sleep at the foot of his bed to keep his feet warm.
This picture right here tells the story of how life was for my family. This is my grandfather here, and this is my dad, the shortest one on the end. One time they had a cousin that lived in town, and he came to visit them. And he did not live on a farm, was not familiar with farm life. And he asked what the flower was on top of the tobacco stalk. And my dad and his brothers said, "Oh, that's called a sucker." And he said, "A sucker? Well, what do you do with it?" And he said, "Well, you suck on it." And he got really sick, and they felt really bad.
I chose this picture to share because it shows my dad. One of the things that he prides himself on, and that is making and curing really pretty tobacco. Tobacco is a very important part of our history. It's a very important part of our landscape.
This is a picture of us doing what we call setting tobacco. And I think one thing I like about this photograph is these are folks from all over our community. There are Native Americans here, there are African Americans here, there are white folks here. It was very hard work, but everybody had a great time.
Our daddy always said it didn't matter what color a man's skin was, it mattered whether he'd work or not. And you could put a man in the tobacco field, you could find out if they'd work or not.
Textiles and tobacco used to be major pillars of the North Carolina economy, providing a foundation for families earning a living off the land. But for farmers, these are uncertain times as they try to find ways to preserve the only life they've ever known. In Institute Township in eastern North Carolina, the family of Warren brothers has been farming this land since before the Civil War.
That is my great-great-grandfather, Joseph Warren Brothers. And this is his wife, Winifred Roundtree Brothers. He was in the Civil War, and her husband died and was a friend of his in his regiment. After the war, he went over to tell her, and he kind of fell in love. They got married and had 2 sons. And that's my Uncle Will, and that's my great-grandfather. And he was actually in the House of Representatives in North Carolina. He was a politician.
Okay.
but not for long. He came home after he did one, he called it a tour of duty in Raleigh, and he said he'd never been around such a crooked bunch in his life, and he was going back to farming.
So what's the future of a medium-sized farm, in eastern North Carolina
That is a good question. I'm still in the process of figuring that out. And there's nothing constant about it. It's not like a paycheck every month. And the bills certainly come every month.
So this looks like harvesting
That's my
corn.
father with some of his hybrid seed corn.
What was your dad's most serious challenge as a farmer?
Probably teaching old knothead me how to farm. I was kind of unruly there for a little while, but I came around.
Are you ready for the thrill of your life? Here we have a year's hard work of quality tobacco. Isn't this beautiful tobacco that Father worked so hard to put in?
The hard work in the fields culminated at the annual tobacco auctions that brought farmers and their families together from across the region.
It was a big social thing. You would carry your crop to town and sit on your, on your bale of tobacco and with the straw in your mouth and talk to everybody, that kind of thing. And those days are gone now. This is the true cabbage collar strain coming out right here.
I see.
But
Is
I
this
can
too
sure
low?
tell it.
Is
If
this
you
one
don't-
too low?
Something has been out here chomping on them.
Yeah, I could see that. So what did you inherit from them?
I guess that, we're all being farmers, I guess, just that love of the land.
And resilience.
Yeah, resilience.
Persistence. Hard-headedness.
Hard-headedness. Yeah, I'm good at that too.
Warren now grows organic vegetables, about 50 different varieties. Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go, here we go, here we go. Flip it over. Let them loose.
Sure.
And kind of
A
spread them
lot.
around.
Okay. All right.
You've been here all day.
I'm going slow, huh? Any advice for my technique?
Speed it up. Speed it up.
Where do you see, your farm and farming, the type of farming you're doing, where do you see it going in the future?
We're sort of banking on this hemp crop, and who knows? It may be a shoe-in for legalizing marijuana. We may turn into a hemp marijuana farm. Who in the world knows?
Got to be a pot farmer.
Be a pot farmer, yeah.
So it depends where the economic winds blow.
That's right. That's right. In farming, you always got to be willing to change up and do something different.
We're acting like farmers, right?
We are. That's what the farmer does.
These pictures have always been in our family because my great-grandma had a camera in the 1920s and would take pictures of her children, and they lived out in the country and it was really rural. But she was the only one who really had a camera, so the families that lived close by and other relatives had pictures of their family because of her. This is probably one of my favorite pictures. This is my great-grandparents, Fred and Essie Bennett. Their spirit is within us and their DNA is within us, and they trailblazed and they endured a lot of hardship, and it made us a lot stronger today.
Don't forget your lines. Family Pictures USA. Unit C, Interview 13. Well, this picture shows our grandfather, our mother's father, James Orr Cobb, is right here. It also shows his complete family with his sisters and father and mother. His father, James Samuel, was an executive with Liggett Myers Tobacco. They all originally had big farms and then sort of migrated. They all kind of ended up in Durham, I think, working with the Dukes and the American Tobacco Company.
Washington Duke was a local farmer who saw an opportunity and rose to prominence with tobacco after the Civil War. He and his sons, Benjamin and James, known as Buck, expanded the cigarette empire that had transformed Durham from a sleepy railroad stop into an economically vibrant metropolis.
This is a picture of my great-uncle Moses Gladstein. In 1881, Buck Duke went up to New York and brought Moses down with 120 Russian and Polish Jewish cigarette rollers to work in his factory. After a few years, the Jewish cigarette rollers were replaced by machines, and they dispersed to other small towns around North Carolina. My great-uncle stayed here, and that was over 100 years ago.
Washington Duke and his family established a close relationship with the African-American leadership of Durham during Reconstruction and maintained those relationships for the rest of their lives. The Dukes supported black business ventures, believing that white Durham would prosper if black Durham prospered too. Black Durham did prosper. There were millionaires as well as a middle class that thrived in neighborhoods like Walltown and Hayti. But people still struggled, particularly in Brookstown.
I think it's worth saying Brookstown is one of the forgotten black neighborhoods in Durham. I was born well after the freeway demolished it.
This is my grandfather. We call him Papa.
They're standing on Thaxton Avenue, which is in Brookstown.
There was a hot dog stand standing right beside him. My grandfather built a hot dog stand for his youngest son, so it became Mac's Hot Dog Stand.
Yeah.
And it was some of the best hot dogs in Durham. Brookstown really loved that place.
This is George and Lily Wall. George is the founder of the Walltown community, and he is the beginning of the clan that you see here. He remained a faithful employee of Duke University and was well loved by the staff.
2 generations of janitors worked really hard at the university to help build it, doing every task that was needed to be done. And when he died, he left $100 to the university for the advancement of African-American men in entrepreneurship and in community. The fact that he did that at a time when African-Americans couldn't even attend the university, means a lot to our family. And I think that's the reason why we are what we are today.
Talib Graves Mans is part of a new generation in Durham that is inspired by the legacy of Paris Street. These blocks are home to some of the oldest black-owned financial companies in the nation, including North Carolina Mutual Life Insurance Company and Mechanics and Farmers Bank. In a segregated South, black business people now had an economic engine to build new businesses and a flourishing community, dubbed Black Wall Street. Scholar and civil rights pioneer W.E.B. Du Bois sang its praises.
W.B. Du Bois said that what he saw in reference to cooperative economics and business development in Durham was not seen anywhere else in the United States. A person can be born to a black doctor in a black hospital, go on to matriculate through black-owned high schools and colleges, go to work and create their own businesses, and then when they pass on, be buried in a black-owned cemetery with bricks made by a black brick mason.
So tell me about this street.
These are the photographs of Paris Street, Black Wall Street at its heyday.
It's kind of like a time capsule. So there's a tangible relationship between Mechanics and Farmers Bank from the early 1900s to you as a young entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's what's really interesting, gives me chills sometimes as I think about what's happening in our community right now here in Durham.
Now, when do you move back here to Durham?
Yeah, LA wouldn't give me a loan.
Young people are flocking to Durham to develop new business and technology ventures. At a downtown hotel built inside an old bank, Talib and his colleagues share what business and family mean in Durham. Everyone here is either an entrepreneur or has a history, family history with entrepreneurs based in Durham.
This picture here means a lot to me. This is a family photo. So my mother's a real estate broker now. Me, I do quite a few things. There's my dad, who has a clothing business in Philadelphia for over 20 years. And then my sister, she's a real estate broker. So everybody in this picture is an entrepreneur.
Yes, my name is Nathan Garrett. That's a photograph of the board of directors of Mechanics and Farmers Bank. I'm right there in the only thing that isn't conservative. I was the first African American who was born in North Carolina who became a certified public accountant. My grandfather went into real estate. My father was a pharmacist. I am, in my family, the third person who was an entrepreneur.
So this is my grandfather. Growing up, you know, we'd be at the house and people were always coming over with envelopes because they were paying their bills. He owned a bunch of property, and he also sold insurance for North Carolina Mutual. You know, that's kind of our legacy.
My name's Jess Aberhart, and I'm fourth generation entrepreneur. I'm a co-founder of Black Wall Street Homecoming, and these are my other co-founders.
Black Wall Street Homecoming is a destination for Black entrepreneurs from across the country. You come here, you get your soul fed, you get access to resources, and for us, that's not just, you know, dollars. That's, you know, other people who are building businesses. We want people to know that you can get what you need here in Durham. My mom was a country girl from Johnston County, North Carolina. Grew up in a family of farmers. Really big family. She was one of 10 kids. You know, my connection to entrepreneurship is really through sort of that grassroots sharecropper type upbringing. My connection to the organization that we founded is really trying to create an opportunity for people to be able to leave a legacy for their families.
Durham is full of possibilities, and it's up to us to figure out what that looks like. My son is 16, and I'm always telling him, like, fortune favors the brave, baby. Like, you gotta take the risks, you gotta take the chances. Durham had so much triumph 120 years ago. When we look at more Black millionaires in Durham than anywhere else in the country, that's a real legacy. And so you can't tell me that it can't look like that in the future. You just can't tell me that because we already did it. So Durham to me is possibilities.
Possibilities that pull more and more people to downtown Durham, where the past is being reclaimed, reinvented, and remixed in the former tobacco factories, warehouses, and textile mills. On the old American Tobacco campus, people gather for our community photo sharing.
Yeah, look at them. Look at this light. Look at the light up here. Look how high it is. You help me hold that.
So I chose this photo because it's important and represents our family as it started early. My husband and I have been together for 20 years. We were high school sweethearts, and it also shows him starting his career as a police officer for the city of Durham.
I knew I wanted to be part of making the community great. I've seen the place grow so much, from having abandoned buildings all downtown, no one would even be downtown, to now fighting for parking places, and it's grown so much. Durham is a place that people are coming just because it's so good, so much diversity, so many things to do.
My grandmother and grandfather were from the Cherokee Tribe in Pembroke, North Carolina, and they migrated to Roxborough. This is the oldest photo that we have in our family line. He was a sharecropper and she was a seamstress. She made all the clothes for everybody in her community.
I've never seen a photo on cardboard before. Well, it means a lot. I didn't know that we had Native American in our family history, so it wasn't until we sat down and started piecing together photos that I really understood who was in the photo and how far back our family history reaches here in North Carolina.
Family roots run deep in North Carolina. You can feel it in the soil. When the land is the land of your ancestors, it has a special resonance. The Oconee Chi Band of the Oconee Nation is one of the few tribes in North Carolina to reclaim its ancestral home.
This is our traditional powwow circle. This is marked off because this is the dance circle. And we enter from this gate, and it's filled with dancers from all nations. It's just a beautiful thing when you see all the colors and people dancing and having a good time. And you can just feel the power of the ancestors, especially when you're dancing and your fringe sort of brushes the ground. It's sort of like you're saying hello to your ancestors.
The Oconee Chi Band bought back these tribal lands in 2004. How did it feel to get this land back?
When you walk out here, you feel the sacredness of it. You just feel the power. People often say when they drive through the gates, They feel like that enveloping of love. They feel like they're being loved.
Why did you move back from Connecticut?
My Aunt Bunk, who is my father's sister, she wrote me a letter, and she said in the letter that I had to come home and take care of the elders. I did come home. That was my calling to be here because we've really moved forward in a lot of things.
The tribe is building a model village and a museum. We joined Vicky Jeffries, her daughter Morningstar, and tribal chairman Tony Hayes. On this table are many ancestors. Vicky, could you tell us who's the oldest ancestor?
I think it would be probably Pat John. He was my third great-grandfather. He was a farmer, so I think most of the people were farmers.
And what does this image tell you about this ancestor?
Tells me he was tough. Yeah, he was like really tough. And that just by the piercing eyes there, you know, I just feel that he was someone that just knew exactly what he needed to do to keep his family together.
My dad was the local business guy. He was the guy that had all the dry goods, that all the farmers came, and he ran tabs for all the farmers so that they could buy dry goods and food and pay on and for the winter, and then they'd pay him when the spring crops came in. His name was William Clyde Hayes, and I'm William Anthony Hayes. I'm the firstborn son of him. And this picture is actually him looking at me, but my mom said I was so ugly she didn't want to put me in the picture. So
You're joking.
No, I'm not kidding. In fact, when I was born, my mom said, you know, you need to take that kid back because he's not mine. So this is a favorite picture of mine because he died relatively young. He really didn't live long enough to see the real revitalization and the fruits of the tribes.
The next photograph.
This is my mom, Montrese Little Dean Carter Jeffries. She was something, but she taught me a lot about survival, and that if you think you don't have any food, go in your pantry, you can make a meal out of what you have. That's why we always call Thundercloud.
Did she ever hear you call her Thundercloud?
No, it didn't even come out of our mouths, you know, no, we would never call her Thundercloud. But everybody in the whole neighborhood called her Mama. You know, that was it was Mama.
She would teach you how to do things for yourself, so I learned a lot with her. So she made sure you had that in you.
And you have pictures of your family here too.
Yeah, I do. This is the matriarch of my family. You know, the Indian culture is primarily a matriarchal culture. And we have very strong women that have led the way since the beginning of time. Like Vicky's mom, this woman was a warrior.
I hear the emotion in your voice when you talk about your mom.
Oh, you know, she's been dead for 20 years and I'm still very respectful and still very afraid of her.
That's Native women, period. Native women are very vocal, and they will not hesitate to tell you how they feel.
Without the strong women, I don't think that the Indian culture would be nearly as strong and certainly not nearly as creative.